inevitable. That's the only thing that we keep on progressing into. And the day you start resisting change, and then certainly it shows that you should be going to the next world or somewhere else. But I guess that we all need to change, and one way or the other, it's a gradual process. It doesn't come automatic. Most time people think it's automatic. It's always a gradual process. And of course, as the world awakened onto the, of course, sad demise of Pope Francis, a lot of other story of death has been erupting. We are also saddened as the SFBC on the demise of someone who was also closer to the public service broadcaster, Madam Rousseau. She has been very helpful to the members of staff here, and we say we are so resting families, and of course our condolences to the bereaved family. But this is how we welcome you to the program. We go for a short break, and then we come back. The program continues. The program is Good Morning Sierra, reaching you live on the public service broadcast at the SLBC on channel 31 and across our social media streaming platform. Well, in the menu this morning, Sierra Leone on edge as Mpox cases surge, where society calls for urgent action over rising fire incidents in Sierra Leone. And of course, Oswald Tech, a company limited from Sierra Leone, is officially West Africa regional champion to represent the region as a start of World Cup Global Finance in the United States of America, competing for a shot at $1 million United States dollars in investment. All these issues are going to be dealt with. But now to our very first issue this morning is on health-related matter. Of course, health authorities in Sierra Leone are calling for increased vigilance as case of Mpox spiral. The last few weeks have witnessed the largest increase in cases since the country recorded its first case of the virus in January. Data from the National Public Health Agency shows the number of cumulative confirmed cases now stands at 477 as at Saturday, April 20th, 2025, according to the data the National Public Health Agency announced in March. A campaign designed to raise awareness about the disease, identify cases in communities, and also to vaccinate those at risk among the population. The Sierra Leone government declared national public health emergency after the country recorded its first case of the viral disease on January 10th this year, 4 months after the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention or Africa CDC and the World Health Organization declared the virus an emergency of continental and international concerns respectively. However, nearly 3 months later, cases of Mpox have drastically increased, raising numerous concerns about the virus and its pattern of infection among experts themselves. Well, for more on this, we have been joined in the studio by the Health Education Manager, Minister of Health, Harold Thomas. Good morning, Mr. Thomas, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, as you've heard from, of course, into it seems that even health experts are more troubling regarding the spread of this viral disease, Mpox. Do you want to premise this on the complexity of the virus itself?
Okay, let me just give you a background, even outside Sierra Leone.
Please do.
You know, as of 2022 January to now, the class 2B, which is the strain of the Mpox virus that is circulating in Sierra Leone, we have gotten like 102,000 cases, you know, across the world, in 122 countries, and 120 deaths. So this is how serious it is. That is the clade 2. And we have other strains like the clade 1, which is circulating in the Congo River Basin, in the Eastern African region. That one is so serious that the case fatality, that is the number of people dying out of the disease, is quite high, about 35 or more %. So meaning out of everyone, only 35 will die. But the one that is circulating, as I said, is the clade 2B in Sierra Leone. And now, when, as you said in your intro, the Minister of Health actually declared Mpox as, a public health emergency. When he made the declaration, a lot of people were saying, we have just one case. Okay. Why is the minister declaring a state of emergency? But the reason is, as I have said it in a number of occasions, this actually Mpox, it will start with one case. It would actually progress arithmetically, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it will come a time when the progression will be geometrical. It will be like for 3, it will go to 7, it will go to 15, 19, as the case may be. And this is exactly what we are seeing. When it all started in Sierra Leone, people were saying this is not real, because there is no more Ebola and COVID. People are just making up stories. So we found it very difficult for people to accept. But the reality is that there is a virus, call it any name, that is circulating around the world. And in Sierra Leone also now, we have gotten like 477 cases, with the highest case load in Western area that has like 380 cases, in Western area. And this particular strain that we are saying is not as serious as the other strain, but it's very serious as well, because the African CDC, Center for Disease Prevention and Control in Africa, has postulated that this strain, because they've done a lot of sequencing, genomic sequencing and all, they are saying this particular strain that is circulating in Africa, if we are not serious in this, it will go up to 2028. That is 3 years from now. And we are seeing it. And I think the other day in the studio, when we were having few cases, I think about 30 or so, I said, in places like Liberia, Guinea and all other places, the 30 that we had as total in a day, some countries are recording 30, 50, 60 cases. And we are seeing what is happening right now. What is happening is because we are very, very proactive, because we had few cases, but that was just like the tip of the iceberg. Because this thing has been circulating, a number of people were hiding cases. So we launched an operation, codename Operation Find Them All, or Find Them Out. And we started doing what we call active case search. And this has derived this kind of dividend that we are seeing, because the cases are already established. Until we bring these cases out, we track their contacts of contacts, and we make sure that we manage these cases well. We would not have a big two in this.
Sorry, Mr. Thomas, to cut it short there. You were spotted on a morning program this morning, a sister program on here in Morning Coffee, to suggest the fact that, of course, the 8th of denial is still among citizens. And, of course, this might sound counterproductive insofar as even your efforts to contain the virus is concerned. How will you be engaging members of the public, if you must tell us?
Yeah, we are using social scientific means in doing this, because as I'm talking, why am I coming up with all this? Because we are doing what we call social listening. We are looking at, we are gauging perceptions on a real-time basis, and on a real-time basis we are seeing the perceptions of people. So we use this to work on the hearts and minds of people, for them to realize, because now what we have, the perception, the awareness is pretty much high as 90 or even over that. but the risk perception is that low. People may perceive this as like something that is going on. They know that mpox is real and mpox is this and that, but what they are failing to realize is how serious it is, or they are looking at this as this as not this thing. It would not affect. I'm an African, you know, we've gone through a lot of things.
We have strong immune system.
Yeah, we have strong immune system and all of this. So the risk perception is low, the awareness is high. So we are trying to work on people's hearts and mind for them to perceive this as very high. Because, you know, when it all started, we were saying, okay, this thing, the case fatality, meaning the death rate would be very low. But any disease, it depends on how that disease meets your own system. Because if someone whose immune system is compromised, maybe for other diseases like, you know, HIV, cancer, or any other disease, if you have mpox, you know, you are battling with one disease and then you have another, so it might result in death. You know, that is why now we are seeing people dying as we have gotten about 4 deaths, and we don't want this actually to happen, because mpox on a normal situation, the strain that you have, if it meets you in good condition, it's self-limiting. After 3 weeks you will be fine and then you go about your normal business. But there are other people, like their nutritional status is not good, their immune system is pretty much compromised. So we are saying, let us adhere to all the preventive measures that we have put in place, the Ministry of Health and the National Public Health Agencies and partners. What we have put in place, if we adhere to this, then we would limit the transmission rate. Because the good thing with mpox is that as long as you don't have any visible signs or symptoms, then you cannot transmit it. Like if any one of us has it right now, as long as we don't have a rash, we don't have fever, you cannot transmit. But the moment the first sign, especially the rash, sets in, then you are at risk of transmitting it to other people. So this is how serious it is. And because this, you know, is dealing with a lot of, you know, rash, we call pustules, that can erupt. There are certain, if it goes to the soft tissues, like in the genitals and all, you know what that would happen, what it will cause. Sometimes it causes complications, and we don't want that to happen. And mpox is a disease that does not, it affects anyone. Even a child in utero can be affected. I mean, a child in the mother's womb can be affected through mother-to-child transmission. This is how serious mpox is. So that is why we should adhere to what we call preventive measures. And then the instructions are simple. If you have mpox, go to the nearest health facility, or you can call 117. Surveillance officers, epidemiological team can actually go and investigate these cases and assess whether you need to go to a health facility or whether you can be managed at home. Right. So this is very, very serious.
Mr. Simmons, continue to talk to us about the surge in cases. Although you've attributed that to, of course, because you've intensified, contact tracing efforts. You also, case searching efforts. Yeah. All of those have really contributed to the surge in cases. But how has been the response rate by the medical professionals when patients have been taken to the hospital? Because we've seen a record number of patients being discharged, declared.
So if you look now, very close to 50% of all the cases have sufficiently recovered and discharged. Okay. And then we have other cases that we call active cases. These are under our watch. We are trying to make sure that we manage these cases well, and then in the coming days or weeks, most of them will be discharged. Unfortunately, as I said, we have 4 deaths, but this is as a result of all the complications. So now this clearly indicates that if you have mpox, you go to any health facility, we can manage this, because we are seeing that people on a daily basis are actually, going through our management, and they are fine at the end of the day. But as I told you, this again, because the African CDC, the Center for Disease Control in Africa, has postulated that they have done a lot of research work, and they are saying if African countries do not take this serious, it will go up to 2028. That is,
and that's why it's very much important, because
for
looking
now,
at 24-hour base period between the 17th to the 18th of April, we saw a record number of 53 new cases just within 2 days.
Yeah, because this is a disease also of contact. Okay. That is why we are saying we should make sure that we track and trace all of these cases, so that we make sure that we get their contacts, their contacts of contact. Because contacts, we have different levels of contact. Okay. As we are here, you might be my contact, but because of the distance, you might be a tertiary contact, not even a secondary contact. Right. So we have people whose that is their core functions, like the surveillance officers. Okay. They actually do this and they trace, and then we have so many other core capacities in this that are responsible to make sure that we curb the spread of mpox.
Mr. Thomas, let's allow you to take a pause now. Going to stay with us in the program, he is of course the Health Education Manager at the Ministry of Health, Aaron Thomas. Talking to us there on, of course, the outbreak of mpox in the country, which is now declared a national health emergency. We want to move now to another issue in the program regarding education, as the Conference of Principals in Sierra Leone will be organizing its 2025 annual conference. Well, for more on this, on the significance of this conference, and to talk on some of the high points of the conference, we've been joined in the studio by the National Public Relations Officer, Conference of Principals, Abdul Razak. Good morning, Mr. Razak.
Good morning, thank you for having me.
So take us along. What's going to be different in this year's National Conference of Principals?
Well, I would have to say, in support of what you say, it's going to be different from difference.
Okay.
And as we rightly say, everybody outside there is clamoring to see what is going to be the day for the academics. We are academics, the principals are academics, the leaders of the nation, the leaders that develop. Today is our annual conference, which is a conference that usually takes place annually, wherein we converge at a particular point and discuss issues of internal and external in regards to the educational system. Today's program is going to be unique because, as I say, it's an annual program that usually comes up every year, and it is rotational. We go around all the regions, northern region, western region, east, and so on and so forth. But for today's program is for the southern, the western region, which is Freetown. We are the host of the conference. We are in all of our colleagues from the provinces in other regions are now in Freetown. They are still hosted at our house there at the SLTU. It's a 510.
Yeah.
And they started coming yesterday, and they are there, and they are waiting to have a kickstart of the program at around 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock this morning.
All right. So, Mr. Razak, I believe some of the discussions that are going to be set up in this year's conference is going to center around challenges in the education system, and of course that cannot be unconnected to bottlenecks will be seen by heads of schools to submit continuous assessment scores for their pupils. We cannot let you go without discussing that. Of course, how will this be captured in this particular national conference?
That is very key. But again, before you discuss somebody's issue is self. That is the first law of nature. First law of nature is self. When you have been able to make yourself be a better person, then you can now be able to extend it elsewhere and develop some other person. Now the caste issue, as you see, is for the peoples. And for what I have just said, in a way of trying to explain much more, we want to see our own welfare, that is the leaders, the teachers themselves. It is us that implement, it is us that educate the students, and make them prepare them for these public exams. Wherein we give them the exams and the marks that are coming, the annual grades that are coming are being referred to as the pass mark. That is the end point of the year or the term pursued. The average is what we collate and send as pass mark. So, well, before doing that, you should be able to be better off yourself before conducting that particular thing. So today's conference is unique in the sense that we'll be discussing all of those issues.
Okay.
One, our own issues, our welfare ourselves, you know, vis-a-vis ranging from our salaries, our conditions, promotions. Most of our colleagues there are acting in that various thing. Then also some of the mitigative measures, which are very, very hard. As when I enter this room, you and myself have been at TSC, trying to plead on behalf of our colleagues whose authorities has now been dancing by the authorities that are concerned, and they were planning to come down heavily on them. You and I were there when they were in charge in all of those things, and I was representing the principal, and you saw all what's come out of it. So all of those are concerned, our own welfare. So today is going to be a day where we can be able to give our voices, what are our challenges, what are our feelings. Before we come to the bigger themselves and the authorities.
Please forgive me to interrupt. Speaking about that, how have you, what role will the ministry be playing in all of these, and the authorities, like you said, what are they going to be saying in this particular conference? What are they going to form part of the discourse in this conference, in essence?
Well, we have invited them because they are aligned ministry, they are the authorities. You know, they say, there is usually an adage, who pays the pipers all the tunes. No, so that's an old adage that says so. So they are authorities. They regulate the whatever that has to be of our own benefit. They regulate it, salary wise, you know, promotions wise, and all of these things. Though some of them may not be of much more developed as we think we wanted them, because as you sit here, yes, as you are seated here in the SLBC, if you have the authority to make in yourself, I think you want to make yourself the Director General as you sit there. But it is not so. There is a system that has been in place that you go through all of those trajectory before you can go up and the day. Because as you say, if the adage says, if the wishes were gold, beggars would not. You will not see them there. Even my energy man here, what he had thought, if he has all the power by himself, he would have just made. When we wake up in the morning, there is a lot of energy now. We will not be clamoring for.
And we settle the energy crisis.
Yes. So that is why, as you say, coming back to your question, we are able to invite all of these people. Before this time, we have been doing it to ourselves, writing letters, meeting them. Well, now we want to come to the public. We don't have lecturers, we have other people, you the journalists, and of course many other people, so that we can showcase our challenges. We can present them. These are challenges that we have been presenting to them, so that they can be seen to help in all of those things and better off ourselves, you see, before you better off other people. So the key here is, when they come here at 10 o'clock, because that's going to be the reopening, wherein we'll have the Minister of Education and all these other people giving statement from there. They will leave us for the next 3 or 4 days. Then we will discuss areas into groups and all of these things. Just like it's a workshop.
Certainly.
It's a workshop where we discuss our issues. Then we'll bring again resolution at the last day resolutions that we'll be able to present to them, to the authorities. Going forward. That these are the things that we have seen. These are the things that have passed us. These are the mitigation which you wanted to levy on our school leaders as a result of A, B, C, and this. And some of these things are happening into the wider world. We are seeing it, we are hearing it on the social media and all of these things. Why the leader? Why the tutor? Why this? So going forward, we try to recap again a new face. Not going for behind again, a new face where all of us can have one understanding, ourselves and the authorities concerned. So that
Mr. Azia, in as much as the challenges lie, I'm also tempted to ask you, there must be success stories. that you will be sharing with colleagues within the National Conference of Principals, and of course, takeaway messages that you will give even to invited guests.
That's true. One of the success stories which we wanted, as I say, is to look at what has passed and make a reflection and profile some solutions for going forward, so that we can work. Now, for today's occasion, for today's meeting, we will be benefiting from showcasing, as you say, younger colleagues, younger principals who have graduated from the colleges and are here, and they are seeing themselves to learning more experiences. So they see older principals like ourselves who have been in the field, mentoring them, though it's professional development also, wherein we have professionals presenting papers that they see and it's worth for them to use as a practice.
As motivation for them.
So the motivation and all of these things again.
Right.
Yeah. Then you see, we mentor them also. We make new friends. We listen to a lot of valuable things that should be looked at when you have been appointed as a leader. Then also not forgetting, as I say, to telling our authorities, because the more the merrier. That's what I think. The more the merrier. The more we have more money, the more I think we are being equipped to doing the work.
Certainly.
Devoid of all these menaces which we are hanging behind.
All right. Continue to us in the program is Abdul Razak, and of course the National Public Relations Officer for the Conference of Principals, talking to us about, of course, the Conference of Principals National Annual Conference that is kickstarting today at, of course, the Hotel 510 auditorium, and of course some of the significance of the conference and what attendees should be looking forward to seeing. We want to go for a short break and talking about our health tips. Today on health tips, we learn more about multiple sclerosis or MS. This is a chronic autoimmune condition that affects the brain and spinal cord, causing issues with vision, sensation, and movement. And there is no cure for MS, but treatment options can help slow its progression. But we encourage you to watch and learn.
Hi, I'm Dr. Marissa McGinley. I'm a neurologist at the Cleveland Clinic. What is multiple sclerosis? Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune condition in which a person's immune system becomes dysregulated and starts to attack certain nerves in the brain and the spinal cord. And what these nerves do is they produce something called myelin, which is a coating around certain cells in the nervous system. And these cells really protect those nerves, and they provide almost like an insulation. And so when it gets damaged, they can't function as well, and they can't transmit the signals as effectively. What are some common early symptoms of MS? As occurs, you can get a variety of symptoms in MS, and it really depends on which cells are being affected in the brain and the spinal cord. For example, if you affect the cerebellum or the balance center of the nervous system, people can feel unsteady. Other nerves affect sensation, and so you can feel numbness, tingling, and also if you can't feel things correctly, that can upset your balance. You can also have the nerves that affect our movements, and so people can become weak. Sometimes people will lose vision in one eye. Other times they'll have double vision. And most of these symptoms come on very quickly over a day or two. And then these symptoms last pretty strongly for a couple of days to a few weeks and then slowly improve. Who does MS affect? So in the United States alone, there's nearly 1 million people living with MS. We really don't know what causes the disease. We think that it's a combination of factors, some genetic and some environmental. We do also see MS occurs more frequently in women, and then it also affects individuals typically sort of earlier in life, so between the ages at 20 to 40. How can living with MS impact your daily life? When we think about some of the decreased sensations, so the numbness or trouble with weakness, this can affect how people walk, and so sometimes people need to use different type of aids to get along, or they may need to engage in some physical therapy and things like that to improve their walking abilities. Other things with like hand function, it may slow you down a little bit with those fine motor movements. And then there can be some effects on cognition. individuals with MS may take a little bit longer to process some information and then be able to respond. What are the treatments for MS? Currently, there's no cure for MS, and everything that we do is really about helping patients maintain their function and prevent any more relapses or accrual of disability. So that's the hope with a lot of our new treatments. Major one that I think most is something called disease-modifying therapies. And so what these medications do is they're trying to calm down the immune system. But equally important are two other factors. One is rehabilitation and the other one is lifestyle. So when we think about rehabilitation, this is about recovering from some of those relapses. And so we think about really engaging with our physical, occupational, and speech therapists. We also think of other adaptive devices and in making sure that patients have all the equipment they need to carry out functions at job.
We hope that was much helpful on that health tips over there for you, and of course to your esteemed viewers, we hope you learned a lot of lessons from that. Where the program is Good Morning Sierra Leone, reaching you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation Television on Channel 31. You can also catch us live on our Facebook page and across our other streaming platform. Dennis Fraser. We move on. We progress with the program, and for that we now jump to another issue. Oswald Tech Company Limited from Sierra Leone is officially the West African regional champion and will represent the region at the Startup World Cup Global Finals in Silicon Valley, United States of America, competing for a shot at $1 million in investment. Well, the Startup World Cup is a global competition that brings together top startups from around the world to pitch for $1 million United States dollars in investment, network with international investors, and gain global exposure and recognition. Over 500 startups across West Africa applied. 30 were selected, 3 made it to the finals, and 1 is going to Silicon Valley competing for our $1 million United States dollars investment in prize. Oswald Tech Company Limited is on a mission to power communities with clean and affordable electricity while reducing plastic waste, creating jobs. Their innovative solution uses a saltwater powered device to deliver 600 plus hours of free light, offering an alternative to unsafe, polluting, and other energy sources. Well, for more on this, we've been joined in the studio by the Chief Executive Officer, Oswald Tech Company Limited, Oswald Abiose Dundas. Good morning, Mr. Oswald, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let me start off by congratulating you, Mr. Dundas, for being the contestant that represents our region in the global finals. Take us to how was your journey like before getting to this point?
So, like all the other entrepreneurs, our journey has not been a smooth sail. We've been working tirelessly, trying to make sure we complete our MVP. Unlike other regions where funds are available, you can go to a lab, build a prototype. We had to bootstrap. Okay. We had to compete. So for us having our funding, we had to compete in our competition from Innovation SL, which is led by Mr. Francis Stephen George, and we won $5,000, which we were able to use in 2023 to get our equipment, complete our MVP, which is a minimum viable product. We have different products such as lamps that uses saltwater, power stations that uses saltwater, and we've just completed our stove. It's a stove that uses saltwater to cook. So apart of all these things, there are many applications. We have, it can even power vehicle, it can power motorbike, it can power keke, it can power villages. But we are at the stage we are in, we want to make sure we do the MVPs and we scale them so that it can reach people and solve the problems. Alright, so Mr. Dundas, of course you being an innovator, and of course you've gone through the rudiments of putting together bits and pieces to create innovative ideas that will not only mesmerize the world but will
also help to solve our problems. Before going into the Startup World Cup, which is a global competition for startups like you, and of course, and others will be competing for a whopping sum of $1 million United States dollars. Take us through your innovative challenge, your innovative idea. How has it been? What's the innovation driving it?
So, building the solution, you have to solve a problem.
Okay.
Most of the innovations I do are centered around solving community problems. We started in 2017 with getting fast the stick lighter, which is a stick you use to start up your charcoal. We did, there are different things we've done,
Okay.
ranging from shoe polish, but that's what never went to the market because we didn't have the funding. Dyes we did from coconut shell, Coleman we did from coconut shell. We do a lot of research and innovations, but the most paramount one is electricity. That has been a challenge since 2012 to now, and of course now you have to have a timetable for you to have light in your zone. Solar is a source of energy and it's expensive. One solar battery is about 5,000. You have to get the panels, you have to get the charge controller, and you have to get the inverter. So the entire system is sustainable, but you only charge at night and during the day when the sun is at the peak.
Yes.
So even though it's free energy, but sometimes you find out that during the rains it's not as effective as during the dries, and of course at night you can't use it at night. So we did a research and we tried to find out what is the available resource around we have, which is seawater. The earth is filled with 70% water.
Yeah.
There is something we can do about the seawater. So the whole idea is having a power source from a natural resource, which is the seawater.
Okay.
So when you have the device, you can simply go to the beach, get the seawater, pour it inside. So you can use it for a long period of time. This also can help rural areas have access to light. Basically, they can use their water and salt at home.
Okay, let me hold you there, Donas. Mr. Donas. The problem is, I'm particularly interested in this particular innovation because unlike hydroelectric power, you need fresh water to power the turbines for it to rotate in and produce electric power supply. But for you, you're talking about salt water, which is always available. You can go to the beaches, you can go to the sea, or you can even, like you said, you create your own source at home. You pour salt in water and then stir up, and then you get your electric power supply. How effective is this? Because in this current dispensation, clean renewable energy is the new phenomenon. People are looking for alternative sources to electric power.
Yeah, so the issue with different renewable energy sources is that they all have the advantage and disadvantage.
Okay.
With seawater, the only downside is you have to use it like how you use fuel.
Okay.
Fuel, when you pour into the generator, when it's finished, you have to give it another pour. You have a certain number of hours you can use some device for.
Okay.
For example, a glass of water lasts for 120 hours in certain lamps we've built, and other lamp you have.
It's maybe 24 hours.
Yes, definitely. So we have the one that is commercially viable. We've sent the designs to China for them to manufacture the parts so that we can couple them here, because we want to make sure it's being done here where we couple them, but we can't get all the parts in Sierra Leone. So with just one glass of water you have 600 hours of light. You can use it for 2 months.
Wow.
Which is just light. You know that your home will not be dark. We have the other lamp that is roughly less than that if you're using it to charge your mobile phone.
Alright, so Oswald, talk to us now a bit further. I know the interest I'm really sharing in this, I believe that's what even our viewers might be really having this particular conversation, because talking about renewable energy power, a lot of people are looking for alternative sources, especially now that we have electric power supply. People might want to really invest in this. Talking about even the Startup World Cup, competition that you are going to be contesting in, you know, with a grouping of $1 million United States dollars. I know what that really can do to your innovative idea. And the platform even has it that if you are not even able to, I mean, it's a short on the money. There's also a platform for networking, other opportunities. There's window of opportunities, array of opportunities that are available to not only you but other startup competitors that will be, I mean, going there. But the question is, how are you really going to be using this platform to expand on your innovation and make it something that other people might want to invest in or want to benefit from, maybe globally or nationally?
So to start with, in Africa alone, 700 million people do not have access. The data is there. In Sierra Leone alone, 70% of Sierra Leone do not have access to electricity. Freetown is not Sierra Leone. So there is a huge challenge, and in the renewable energy sector, it's worth billions of dollars. So they are always, you know, trying to solve the electricity problem. It's not only in Sierra Leone, it affects a lot of other people. So we are going to win, and we are going to win the 1 million. And
Certainly.
when we do,
We need that.
because this is the first time Sierra Leone is
It's
being
competing.
represented at that stage.
Wow.
So going there is for the win.
Okay.
There is no other second alternative. We want to go make sure we win the 1 million to put Sierra Leone in the map. Definitely there are going to be other venture capitals, there are going to be other sponsors who want to, you know, take the idea. But something that is very important is the IP, which is the intellectual property, which is not available in Sierra Leone. Patent. You know, we have some sort of patenting, but it's not, you know, strong enough for the worldwide community. So we've also, during the pitch,
And I mean that talks about policies that will, I mean, we protect your
the
innovation.
idea and the solution so that it could not be replicated by others without them having your consent or your permission.
Certainly.
So one of the investors that came have offered to mentor us through that process so that we get the IP, because that is very crucial.
All right. Of course, he's Oswald Abiose Donas, a competitor representing not only Sierra Leone but our region of West Africa in the Startup World Cup competition, and we're battling for a whooping $1 million United States dollars. And of course, we believe that is going to be backed home, and for this idea to be expanded to not only Sierra Leone but internationally. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. We go now for a brief commercial break. When we come back, we continue the program.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold natural cocoa powder, Sunny Gold brown sugar, neat fufu flour, shito, pisa and moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.
Welcome back. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone, reaching you live from the SLBC. We still have our Thomas, of course, the Health and Education Manager from the Ministry of Health, in the studio, talking to us about the surge in Mpox cases currently in the country. So, Mr. Thomas, you've been silent for a while. Before we go to other issues, you are also giving us, of course, some of your control mechanisms that you've been putting in place to respond to this health emergency. You might take us through that as well.
Yeah, as you know, we have 16 districts across the country, and 9 of the 16 districts are reporting cases. And then the highest is Western area, urban, that has like 380 cases. Trailing behind them, urban is the Western area, rural, and a number of other districts. But what we are seeing, this particular disease is actually a disease of contact, And then now we have gotten another tool added to the tools that we are using in preventing this disease, that is vaccination, Mpox vaccination. And this we are giving to people who are at high risk, especially frontline workers. I don't mean health workers, it might be health workers, it might be anybody that is at high risk. And to key populations, there are people whose profession predisposes them to Mpox, and so these ones also would be given this vaccine, because now we have like 61,300 vaccine of the doses, and then we'll see how best we can utilize this, because in a population of 8 million we cannot give everyone. But the important thing is that there are other what we call non-pharmaceutical interventions for preventing Mpox, like simple hand washing with soap and water, like if you suspect that you have Mpox with any signs and symptoms, you just call 117, or you make sure you go to the nearest health facility. And anybody that is actually infected with Mpox, please, it's a disease of contact, don't touch that person, don't use that person's clothing, that person's beddings, because these are the ways that Mpox can actually transmit. And it's also important, the issue of denial. People are saying that Mpox is not real, and if you have that mindset, then you would be predisposing yourself and others to Mpox. Because out of my own experience, for a very long time, I have seen, even with HIV and AIDS, those that we are saying is not real, some of them are actually are infected, and some of them are no more. So if you have that mindset, then you will be putting yourself at risk and other people at risk. Let us realize that Mpox, as I said, the clade 2B is circulating among 122 countries, you know, of course, the globe, and about a lot of over 102,000 have been infected with 120 deaths. So this is not peculiar to Sierra Leone alone. And as long, you know, the IHR, the International Health Regulations, talks about trade and travel. You know, diseases actually travel at the speed of a jetliner. Meaning I will be in Sierra Leone this morning. By 12, you know, I will be taking my lunch maybe in another country, and then in another country, and then it can be transmitted all over. So we must make sure that we adhere to precautionary measures and listen to what the health workers.
There's a strand of the virus you're also talking about that, if not contained, might take us up to 2028 before that it can be put under control. How have you been working with health officials to really see how best you can battle this time?
Well, this is why we are employing all efforts. Like we, for the IHR, in Sierra Leone, we have what we call core capacities, and like the risk communication, which I'm heading, we have surveillance, we have you know, medical countermeasures and all. We are trying to make sure that we do all that we can, but we cannot do this all by ourselves. We need the cooperation of everybody, because you know, these diseases actually, even attitudes play a great role in this. We want to make sure that we influence attitudes and also increase knowledge in this.
This is our Thomas, Fan Education Manager, Minister of Health. Quickly over to you, of course, Mr. Abdulrazak. What should, of course, attendees of this national conference of principals look forward to seeing?
Positive. I say the positive, because all of our challenges to make us more better off, better than yesterday, better today going forward, is what everybody will be looking forward to here. Because as we say, since all these other authorities that are concerned, the salary structure and these people, that is those that will be structuring the salaries, are going to be there. The Ministry of Education are going to be there, professors are going to be there. You know, everybody that has to do with the educational system, you know, has to be there. so that we can be able to showcase, pinpoint our issues for development.
I'm also tempted to ask, what issue have you really identified as pressing for, principles that you really want to put under the microscope, that you want to really be dealing with in this particular conference?
Well, there is a theme. The theme is interrelated.
Okay.
All of them are very, very important. As I said before this time, I remember me citing up an adage that you cannot better off people before you.
Yeah.
It is you yourself. That's so the scientists, as they say.
Yeah, the law of self.
The law of self. When you are better off, then you can be able to better other people.
Okay.
So, Mr. Aaron here is talking on the health business because he has been able to develop himself medically.
Yes.
So that is why he's seated here today trying to save others, all of us,
Okay.
that this sickness is. So, likewise, we the teachers.
All right.
We are leaders who showcases what is leadership, where and where to go, where to sit. If you mean I come to your studio, how to sit there and how to talk and all of these things. And then we want to see ourselves better by bringing up all of our concerns, ranging from our salaries, ranging from other people who are still acting positions and others where it can be.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we have to leave it there. He's Abdul Razak. Of course, he's the National Public Relations Officer for the Conference of Principals. We wish you all the best in your conference, and of course, as you delve on issues of welfare. Very quickly in the program, we want to look at the front pages of our local tabloids, and for that, I begin with the Awareness Times newspaper. It opens with a banner headline that says, "In an appreciated Easter message is shared on his social media platforms." VP Jules praise for President Bio and Sierra Leone. President Bio and First Lady pay tribute to Pope Francis online. Gambia seeks enhanced security partnership with Sierra Leone ministries, collaborate on key economic drivers. Ben Kaifala aligns Sierra Leone with AU's asset recovery vision. Our stories you can find on the front page of the Awareness Times newspaper. Our next pick is the Aoko newspaper. It opens with a banner headline, King Charles honors Sierra Leonean for exceptional humanitarian service. And to go with that story is the portrait of King Charles of the United Kingdom, and of course Andrew Bonner, who is a Sierra Leonean, receiving his medal from His Majesty the King. Tanzania Defense Delegation explores sustainable mining investment in Sierra Leone. Minister Salima Ba named among World Economic Forum's young global leaders. Our stories you can find on the front page of the Aoko newspaper. My next pick happens to be AYP newspaper 2028, Sierra Leone's great political reckoning, from survivors to statesmen. The battle for nation begins. My final pick today in the newspaper review is the Congo Times newspaper. It opens with the banner headline, PAC exposes salary irregularities, secondment abuse at Agric Ministry. Love Your Art Salon launches campaign to combat hypertension and diabetes. FITS holds first graduation launching ceremony. Our stories you can find on the front page of the Congo Times newspaper. And that simply brings us to the end of today's newspaper review. But I must quickly remind you that views and sentiments expressed on these publications are not necessarily the views and sentiments of the SLBC. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone. Quickly over to you, Mr. Oswald Abesedondas. As you go, we want to really wish you all the best. But what should Sierra Leoneans look forward to see?
Yeah, so definitely Sierra Leone should look forward to see me representing Sierra Leone to the fullest and not letting them down. So we're going to go to Silicon Valley and make sure we win and bring it home for Sierra Leone.
Alright, thank you very much. He's Oswald Abiose-Dondas, and of course he's the Chief Executive Officer of Oswald Tech Innovative Hub. And that's where we bring down the curtain into this edition of your breakfast program, Good Morning Sierra Leone. On behalf of all of us here at Broadcasting House New England, Ville Freetown, I am Dennis Fraser. Until then, have a splendid day. Goodbye. Good Morning Sierra Leone.
The mother of the house. Whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base. It's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. The This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold natural cocoa powder, Sunny Gold brown sugar, meat fufu flour, shito, pisa, and moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.
A place cannot produce poems. It can only not prevent them. And Freetown is good at that, for Freetown has its own sudden elegances. People are slow to leave it, quick to return. And there are others who come for a year or two and stay for a lifetime, sensing that they've found a city that is in the world, yet sufficiently on the edge of it to have a different resonance. Let me tell you something about this city. All of us, we're all just passing through, and we've all been here forever. Those who came, those who stayed, those who never returned. Tides turn, seasons change. We've waited and we've watched. But we've always been here. We've always listened. Because there is a different resonance here. It comes from the river, and the land, and the sky.
It's our place. All of us.
This city belongs to everyone.
And you know when it's your time.
And it's our time.
Listen, we are Freetown.
The golden rules of Freetown.
Don't pretend you're something that you're not.
Don't go thinking you're better than anyone else, or that anyone else is better than you.
Don't shout about it. Get on with it.
We are Freetown.
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 Yeah.
We found our voice again.
I'm from India and Freetown.
I'm from China and Freetown.
I'm from the UK and Freetown.
I am from Nigeria and Freetown.
I am from home and Freetown.
This city belongs to everyone.
The fishermen,
the taxi driver,
the barber,
the drummers, the dancers.
All of us, everybody. We are Freetown.
The past is ours.
The future is ours. It's our time again.
And this city belongs to everyone.
The playwright,
the greengrocer,
the teacher,
the dog.
This space is ours.
This light is ours.
The beaches are ours. The rivers now we own.
The roads are ours.
The bridges now we own.
We are Freetown.
We are all visitors and we've all been here forever.
We've got the mightiest river
and the biggest sky.
And there's a resonance again.
Freetown, Freetown.
We are proud of this place.
We love this city.
and we want you to love it too.
We are proud of this place.
Na pass we all dey pass like stranger dem, but we all don dey from there. Come here, and you'll feel it, that end of the line sense of freedom. Say yes to Freetown. Say yes to freedom.
We are the national broadcaster, and I am Sulaiman Baba Toure, a reporter and presenter at the SLBC. Your voice, my voice.
From the commercial department, I am Regina Bangura. You are watching SLBC. Your voice, my voice.
Good morning and welcome to News Brief on the Hour. I am Mariatu Dukure. Pope Francis has died at the age of 88 following a prolonged illness including double pneumonia. Pope Francis passed away in the morning hours on Easter Monday, 21st April, in his residence, Domus Sanctae Marthae, in Vatican City. Cardinal Kelvin Farrell, the Vatican's Camerlengo, made the announcement shortly after his death. He had served as a pope since March 13, 2013, making him the first pope from the Americas and the first born outside Europe in over a millennium. His passing has initiated significant mourning and tributes worldwide. Leaders from around the world have expressed their condolences and paid tribute to Pope Francis's efforts towards peace, climate change, and supporting the marginalized. His approachable nature, known for advocating for the poor and promoting interfaith dialogue, has left a lasting impact on millions globally. Many are mourning his loss, with public vigils and tributes occurring worldwide. A public disclosure on the environmental and social impacts assessment of the Freetown Cable Car project has been presented to stakeholders and project-affected communities held at the Freetown City Council Hall. The assessment was conducted by Intergems Limited in line with the EPA Act. According to the General Manager Intergems Limited, Samuela Faulkner, Our institution undertook study to identify potential environmental and social impacts relating to the Freetown Cable Car project and assessment of those impacts to ensure the proposed development are community and safety for the project or affected people. She said the assessment shows that there will be physical and economic displacements and 98 structures would be affected around Eastern Police, Ferry Junction, Government Wharf, Mountain Court and Upgun. Madam Faulkner said the project affected people would be relocated, noting that a resettlement action plan had been developed and will be presented to Freetown City Council that will address most of the impacts captured in the study. Mayor of Freetown City Council Yvonne Akisoya underscored the importance of the environmental and social impact assessment to the project, stating that feasibility study had also been complemented with funds provided by C40 cities to the tune of $1 million. Mayor Akisoya said the Freetown Cable Car project was designed by the Freetown City Council to ease transportation challenges and reduce congestion in the city. Deputy Director of Policy, EPA, Solomon George, said the agency welcomed such transformative project in the country, noting that the Freetown Cable Car project was environmentally friendly. He said environmental and social impact assessment and public disclosure was a requirement and enshrined in the EPA Act. Project beneficiaries and affected people lauded Council for initiating the project and called for more engagement with them, especially on the relocation package. Stakeholders from Electricity and Distribution Supply Authority have embarked on community engagement to communities at Newton. The engagement was designed to keep them updated with preparation about the status of the ongoing Regional Emergency Solar Power Intervention Project in the Western Area Urban and some parts of Freetown, and the agreement with Hazarai community members. Over the years, residents from various communities at Newton have been struggling to access electricity and has posed a huge challenge for community members. The signing of the 52 megawatts worth $75 million by President Madavio was a dream come true for them. Project manager Kade Toure said the event was vital for them to get first-hand information. She said the Regional Emergency Solar Power Intervention Project was an additional 30 megawatt solar and 15 megawatt battery energy storage system to the already stationed solar at the site, making it 42 megawatts. Social Risk Safeguard Specialist for the Respite Project Regional Emergency Solar Power Intervention Project, Rashidu Sina, said the engagement was to facilitate the settlement of community people who have been affected by the project. Participants applauded EDSA and the World Bank for the project and promised to work with authorities to maintain the facility. That was the news on the hour. I have been Maria Tudukure. Thank you so much for watching.
On this, the goodies April 27 Independence Day. This one year so, now the volume 25, now the same place Family Kingdom. Now band competition, where band go see band wait 7 drum go yegi 7 drum, let's get guitar cuts. When now the line up this way for take part in the band competition, you get the correctional center where we all be known as prison band. And the classic beats will be make name last year and a Family Kingdom will make all man dance stay in shoes in left day. In on top there, the champion, the Igwe, the Kulubom, amazing dance band. Well, this is civilian versus officer. And inside this band competition, instruments go see instruments wait. 7 drum, bata, tumba. Well, also all the different band and they don't play the instruments here. Now good sound go ticklish you, yes. Independence Day, April 27. On these, the goodies, now the Family Kingdom. For the tickets price, we get for take you all night long. Now 150 new leons. 6 to 6. Let we celebrate Mama Salon with all these, the goodies. You will get the best afro. You will get the best bump deal. All that one day, all these, the goodies don't prepare them for let you say go get package inside the all these, the goodies. Now Family Kingdom, April 27 for just 150 new leons. Food and drinks go there for price we go fit you pocket. And in that tap there, we get the DJ that we get for finger dots music for we. We get the champion DJ Red Out of Olive Garden at the Lonely Beach. DJ Sam J of Amazing Dance Band. And then two you all been Sabina man will be $200 for we. DJ Crazy from the United States of America. Sound go see sound, music go see music. Sirato go see Sirato. When this we call Boku enjoyment, small couple. Let we all go rock ballad. Let we enjoy ourselves because now the only place that day there, April 27, now Family Kingdom, Independence Day. All these the goodies inside the volume 25. See you when we see you.
Mr. Ambassador, chillin' with fine face.
Wind up your body, show them you stand like a real Nami style.
So they just give me vent. They decide just the red.
He's back. The most handsome, trending R&B singer, Fine Face, is set to take you all to the prestigious Bintumani Hotel on the 25th of April with his hit single, Nami Style, featuring Ambassador, the King, Cal Dinero. This is a musical concert you don't want to miss. Fine Face will be performing hit songs like Best of Me.
I am with the best of me. That I'm talking and it's coming from my heart. You gon' get the best of me.
For you sake.
I go crazy for you. And I go die for you. Anything where you want, baby girl, I go face for you.
Hey, marry me.
Me, I go marry you. It like you take. I go patient and I wait to. It like you take. Me, I go marry you.
Dengue and pose.
I did dengue, I did pose. Anytime they want them, I did give them overdose. I did dengue, and I did pose. They let the hits, they go see me by fools.
And many more. Also witness the formal unveiling of the Sing for Education project, in which 50% of proceeds from the events will be donated to the Sing for Education funding accounts. Musicians like Starzy, Rezo Collabo, Incredible JJ, Bacatino, Speedo, and many more will be live on stage. The first 100 people to arrive at the gate will receive a newly rebranded Sierra Juice for free. Ticket prices: 100 Leons Ordinary, 300 Leons VIP Single, 500 Leons VIP Double, and VVIP by donation. For more information, contact Sexy Dija on 030-264-811 or 079-283-759. It's the Fine Face Nami Style concert featuring Ambassador Cal Dinero on April 25th in Bintumani Hotel. You don't want to miss it. Yeah, man.
Highwoods Institute, looking to advance in accounting, business management, or digital proficiency. From ACCA to ICB qualifications and workplace proficiency, Highwoods Institute sets you on the path to success. At Highwoods Institute, we offer a diverse range of programs tailored just to meet the needs of today's professionals. So, join the ranks Achieving your career goals has never been more accessible. Take the first step toward a brighter tomorrow. Enroll now at Highwoods Institute and start a secured future. Visit us at highwoodsinstitute.org or at 92 Pademba Road, Freetown to learn more. Highwoods Institute, the premier destination for career-focused education.
Per risorgere con lui. Aspergiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a Dio che reggiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a nella luce della beatitudine eterna, per Cristo, a una vita nuova in Cristo, nello Spirito Santo.
Nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, per risorgere con lui. Aspergiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a Dio che reggiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a nella luce della beatitudine eterna, per Cristo, a una vita nuova in Cristo, nello Spirito Santo. Nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie,
Battesimo per risorgere con lui. Aspergiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a Dio che reggiamo il corpo del nostro Papa Francesco. Rendiamo grazie a nella luce della beatitudine eterna. Per Cristo, a una vita nuova in Cristo, nello Spirito Santo.
Nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie,
Battesimo.
Discover Sierra Leone, a hidden gem of West Africa.
years ago, on 28 May 1975, a bold vision came to life. The dream of a united, integrated, and prosperous West Africa became a reality as leaders of 15 West African countries gathered in Lagos, Nigeria to lay the foundation of a regional organization with the capacity to address the economic, socio-political, and security challenges facing the region. On that historic day, ECOWAS was born. Over the past 5 decades, ECOWAS has remained resilient, steadfast, and committed to the ideals set forth by its founding fathers, promoting democracy, peace, security, good governance.
Key achievements over the years include advancing intra-regional trade through the implementation of the Common External Tariff, spearheading regional infrastructure projects, including transnational road corridors connecting member states' capitals, establishing a regional electricity market, and progressing towards a single regional currency, supporting member countries in combating epidemics, strengthening healthcare systems, and improving food security, investing in human capital development, promoting gender equality, empowering youth, and fostering culture and tourism, providing humanitarian support to vulnerable populations during crises and disasters, and supporting democratic processes and regional stability through election observation missions.
As we reflect on our journey over the past 50 years, we look to the future with hope and determination. Together, let us continue to build the ECOWAS of our dreams, an ECOWAS of the people, peace and prosperity for all. ECOWAS, stronger together for a brighter future.
Il y a 50 ans, le 28 mai 1975, une vision audacieuse prenait vie. Le rêve d'une Afrique de l'Ouest unie, intégrée et prospère est devenu réalité lorsque les dirigeants de 15 pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest se sont réunis à Lagos au Nigeria pour jeter les bases d'une organisation régionale capable de relever les défis économiques, sociopolitiques et sécuritaires auxquels la région est confrontée. En ce jour historique, la CEDEAO est née. Au cours des 5 dernières décennies, la CEDEAO est restée résistante, inébranlable et attachée aux grands idéaux énoncés par ses pères fondateurs. Promouvoir la démocratie, la paix, la sécurité, la bonne gouvernance et l'intégration économique. Pendant les 50 dernières années, la CEDEAO a réussi à faire progresser le commerce intra-régional grâce à la mise en œuvre du tarif extérieur commun. Lancer des projets d'infrastructures régionales, notamment des corridors routiers transnationaux reliant des capitales des États membres. Établir un marché régional de l'électricité et projeter les bases d'une monnaie régionale unique. Soutenir les pays membres dans la lutte contre les épidémies, le renforcement des systèmes de santé et l'amélioration de la sécurité alimentaire. Investir dans le développement du capital humain, la promotion de l'égalité des sexes, l'autonomisation des jeunes et la promotion de la culture et du tourisme. Fournir un soutien humanitaire aux populations vulnérables pendant les crises et les catastrophes. Activer sa force en attente pour lutter contre le terrorisme et l'insécurité dans la sous-région et soutenir les processus démocratiques et la stabilité régionale par le biais des missions d'observation électorale. Tout en s'inspirant de notre parcours au cours de ces 50 dernières années, nous regardons l'avenir avec espoir et détermination. Ensemble, continuons à construire la CEDEAO de nos rêves. Une CEDEAO et tous. La CEDEAO plus forte.
Há 50 anos, em 28 de maio de 1975, uma visão ousada ganhou vida. O sonho de uma quando os líderes de 15 países da África Ocidental se reuniram em Lagos, na Nigéria, para lançar os alicerces de uma organização regional com capacidade para enfrentar os desafios econômicos, sociopolíticos e de segurança da região. Nesse dia histórico, nasceu a CEDEAO. Ao longo das últimas 5 décadas, a CEDEAO manteve-se resiliente, firme e comprometida com os elevados ideais estabelecidos pelos seus fundadores. Promoção da democracia, da paz, da segurança, da boa governação e da integração econômica. Principais conquistas ao longo dos anos incluem o avanço do comércio intra-regional, com a implementação da tarifa externa comum, a liderança em projetos de infraestruturas regionais, incluindo corredores rodoviários transnacionais que ligam as capitais dos Estados-membros, o estabelecimento de um mercado regional de eletricidade e os progressos rumo a uma moeda regional única, o apoio aos Estados-membros no combate a epidemias, no reforço dos sistemas de saúde e na melhoria da segurança alimentar, o investimento no desenvolvimento do capital humano, na promoção da igualdade de género, no empoderamento da juventude e na valorização da cultura e do turismo. A prestação de apoio humanitário às populações vulneráveis em situações de crise e catástrofe e o apoio aos processos democráticos e à estabilidade regional através de missões de observação eleitoral. Ao refletirmos sobre o percurso dos últimos 50 anos, olhamos para o futuro com esperança e determinação. Juntos, continuemos a construir a CDAO com que sempre sonhamos, uma CDAO do povo. Paz e prosperidade para todos. CDAO, mais fortes juntos, rumo a um futuro.
Years ago, on 28 May 1975, a bold vision came to life. The dream of a united, integrated and prosperous West Africa became a reality as leaders of 15 West African countries gathered in Lagos, Nigeria to lay the foundation of a regional organization with the capacity to address the economic, socio-political and security challenges facing the region. On that historic day, ECOWAS was born. Over the past 5 decades, ECOWAS has remained resilient, steadfast and committed to the ideals set forth by its founding fathers, promoting democracy, peace, security, good governance.
Key achievements over the years include advancing intra-regional trade through the implementation of the Common External Tariff, spearheading regional infrastructure projects, including transnational road corridors connecting member states' capitals, establishing a regional electricity market, and progressing towards a single regional currency, supporting member countries in combating epidemics, strengthening healthcare systems, and improving food security, investing in human capital development, promoting gender equality, empowering youth, and fostering culture and tourism, providing humanitarian support to vulnerable populations during crises and disasters, and supporting democratic processes and regional stability through election observation missions.
As we reflect on our journey over the past 50 years, we look to the future with hope and determination. Together, let us continue to build the ECOWAS of our dreams, an ECOWAS of the people. Peace and prosperity for all. ECOWAS, stronger together for a brighter future.
Il y a 50 ans, le 28 mai 1975, une vision audacieuse prenait vie. Le rêve d'une Afrique de l'Ouest unie, intégrée et prospère est devenu réalité lorsque les dirigeants de 15 pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest se sont réunis à Lagos au Nigeria pour jeter les bases d'une organisation régionale capable de relever les défis économiques, sociopolitiques et sécuritaires auxquels la région est confrontée. En ce jour historique, la CEDEAO est née. Au cours des 5 dernières décennies, la CEDEAO est restée résistante, inébranlable et attachée aux grands idéaux énoncés par ses pères fondateurs. Promouvoir la démocratie, la paix, la sécurité, la bonne gouvernance et l'intégration économique. Pendant les 50 dernières années, la CEDEAO a réussi à faire progresser le commerce intra-régional grâce à la mise en œuvre du tarif extérieur commun. Lancer des projets d'infrastructures régionales, notamment des corridors routiers transnationaux reliant des capitales des États membres. Établir un marché régional de l'électricité et projeter les bases d'une monnaie régionale unique. Soutenir les pays membres dans la lutte contre les épidémies, le renforcement des systèmes de santé et l'amélioration de la sécurité alimentaire. Investir dans le développement du capital humain, la promotion de l'égalité des sexes, l'autonomisation des jeunes et la promotion de la culture et du tourisme. Fournir un soutien humanitaire aux populations vulnérables pendant les crises et les catastrophes. Activer sa force en attente pour lutter contre le terrorisme et l'insécurité dans la sous-région et soutenir les processus démocratiques et la stabilité régionale par le biais des missions d'observation électorale. Tout en s'inspirant de notre parcours au cours de ces 50 dernières années, nous regardons l'avenir avec espoir et détermination. Ensemble, continuons à construire la CEDEAO de nos rêves. Une CEDEAO des peuples, paix et prospérité pour tous. La CEDEAO plus fort ensemble pour un avenir plus radieux.
Há 50 anos, em 28 de maio de 1975, uma visão ousada ganhou vida. O sonho de uma quando os líderes de 15 países da África Ocidental se reuniram em Lagos, na Nigéria, para lançar os alicerces de uma organização regional com capacidade para enfrentar os desafios econômicos, sociopolíticos e de segurança da região. Nesse dia histórico, nasceu a CEDEAO. Ao longo das últimas 5 décadas, a CEDEAO manteve-se resiliente, firme e comprometida com os elevados ideais estabelecidos pelos seus fundadores: promoção da democracia, da paz, da segurança, da boa governação e da integração econômica. Principais conquistas ao longo dos anos incluem o avanço do comércio intrarregional, com a implementação da tarifa externa comum, a liderança em projetos de infraestruturas regionais, incluindo corredores rodoviários transnacionais que ligam as capitais dos Estados-membros, o estabelecimento de um mercado regional de eletricidade e os progressos rumo a uma moeda regional única, o apoio aos Estados-membros no combate a epidemias, no reforço dos sistemas de saúde e na melhoria da segurança alimentar, o investimento no desenvolvimento do capital humano, na promoção da igualdade de género, no empoderamento da juventude e na valorização da cultura e do turismo. A prestação de apoio humanitário às populações vulneráveis em situações de crise e catástrofe e o apoio aos processos democráticos e à estabilidade regional através de missões de observação eleitoral. Ao refletirmos sobre o percurso dos últimos 50 anos, olhamos para o futuro com esperança e determinação. Juntos, continuemos a construir a CEDEAO com que sempre sonhamos, uma CEDEAO do povo. Paz e prosperidade.
years ago, on 28 May 1975, a bold vision came to life. The dream of a united, integrated, and prosperous West Africa became a reality as leaders of 15 West African countries gathered in Lagos, Nigeria to lay the foundation of a regional organization with the capacity to address the economic, socio-political, and security challenges facing the region. On that historic day, ECOWAS was born. Over the past 5 decades, ECOWAS has remained resilient, steadfast, and committed to the ideals set forward by its founding fathers, promoting democracy, peace, security, good governance.
Key achievements over the years include advancing intra-regional trade through the implementation of the Common External Tariff, spearheading regional infrastructure projects, including transnational road corridors connecting member states' capitals, establishing a regional electricity market, and progressing towards a single regional currency, supporting member countries in combating epidemics, strengthening healthcare systems, and improving food security, investing in human capital development, promoting gender equality, empowering youth, and fostering culture and tourism, providing humanitarian support to vulnerable populations during crises and disasters, and supporting democratic processes and regional stability through election observation missions.
As we reflect on our journey over the past 50 years, we look to the future with hope and determination. Together, let us continue to build the ECOWAS of our dreams, and ECOWAS of the people. Peace and prosperity for all. ECOWAS, stronger together for a brighter future.
Il y a 50 ans, le 28 mai 1975, une vision audacieuse prenait vie. Le rêve d'une Afrique de l'Ouest unie, intégrée et prospère, est devenu réalité lorsque les dirigeants West Africa became a reality.
West Africa became a reality as leaders of 15 West African countries gathered in Lagos, Nigeria to lay the foundation of a regional organization with the capacity to address the economic, socio-political, and security challenges facing the region. On that historic day, ECOWAS was born.
Over the past 5 decades, ECOWAS has remained resilient, steadfast, and committed to the ideals set forward by its founding fathers,
promoting democracy,
peace, security, good governance. Key achievements over the years include advancing intra-regional trade through the implementation of the Common External Tariff, spearheading regional infrastructure projects, including transnational road corridors connecting member states' capitals, establishing a regional electricity market, and progressing towards a single regional currency, supporting member countries in combating epidemics, strengthening healthcare systems, and improving food security, investing in human capital development, promoting gender equality, empowering youth, and fostering culture and tourism, providing humanitarian support to vulnerable populations during crises and disasters, and supporting democratic processes and regional stability through election observation missions.
As we reflect on our journey over the past 50 years, we look to the future with hope and determination. Together, let us continue to build the ECOWAS of our dreams, and ECOWAS of the people. Peace and prosperity for all. ECOWAS, stronger together for a brighter future.
Il y a 50 ans, le 28 mai 1975, une vision audacieuse prenait vie. Le rêve d'une Afrique de l'Ouest unie, intégrée et prospère est devenue réalité lorsque les dirigeants de 15 pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest se sont réunis à Lagos au Nigeria pour jeter les bases d'une organisation régionale capable de relever les défis économiques, sociopolitiques et sécuritaires auxquels la région est confrontée. En ce jour historique, la CEDEAO est née. Au cours des 5 dernières décennies, la CEDEAO est restée résistante, inébranlable et attachée aux grands idéaux énoncés par ses pères fondateurs. Promouvoir la démocratie, la paix, la sécurité, la bonne gouvernance et l'intégration économique. Pendant les 50 dernières années, la CEDEAO a réussi à faire progresser le commerce intra-régional grâce à la mise en œuvre du tarif extérieur commun. Lancer des projets d'infrastructures régionales, notamment des corridors routiers transnationaux reliant des capitales des États membres. Établir un marché régional de l'électricité et projeter les bases d'une monnaie régionale unique. Soutenir les pays membres dans la lutte contre les épidémies, le renforcement des systèmes de santé et l'amélioration de la sécurité alimentaire. Investir dans le développement du capital humain, la promotion de l'égalité des sexes, l'autonomisation des jeunes et la promotion de la culture et du tourisme. Fournir un soutien humanitaire aux populations vulnérables pendant les crises et les catastrophes. Activer sa force en attente pour lutter contre le terrorisme et l'insécurité dans la sous-région et soutenir les processus démocratiques et la stabilité régionale par le biais des missions d'observation électorale. Tout en s'inspirant de notre parcours au cours de ces 50 dernières années, nous regardons l'avenir avec espoir et détermination. Ensemble, continuons à construire la CEDEAO de nos rêves. Une CEDEAO des peuples, paix et prospérité pour tous.
Uma CEDEAO do povo, paz e prosperidade para todos. CEDEAO, mais fortes juntos, rumo a um futuro promissor.
Il y a 50 ans, le 28 mai 1975, une vision audacieuse prenait vie. Le rêve d'une Afrique de l'Ouest unie, intégrée et prospère, est devenu réalité lorsque les dirigeants de 15 pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest se sont réunis à Lagos au Nigeria pour jeter les bases d'une organisation régionale capable de relever les défis économiques, sociopolitiques et sécuritaires auxquels la région est confrontée. En ce jour historique, la CEDEAO est née. Au cours des 5 dernières décennies, la CEDEAO est restée résistante, inébranlable et attachée aux grands idéaux énoncés par ses pères fondateurs. Promouvoir la démocratie, la paix, la sécurité, la bonne gouvernance et l'intégration économique. Pendant les 50 dernières années, la CEDEAO a réussi à faire progresser le commerce intra-régional grâce à la mise en œuvre du tarif extérieur commun. Lancer des projets d'infrastructures régionales, notamment des corridors routiers transnationaux reliant des capitales des États membres. Établir un marché régional de l'électricité et projeter les bases d'une monnaie régionale unique. Soutenir les pays membres dans la lutte contre les épidémies, le renforcement des systèmes de santé et l'amélioration de la sécurité alimentaire. Investir dans le développement du capital humain, la promotion de l'égalité des sexes, l'autonomisation des jeunes et la promotion de la culture et du tourisme. Fournir un soutien humanitaire aux populations vulnérables pendant les crises et les catastrophes. Activer sa force en attente pour lutter contre le terrorisme et l'insécurité dans la sous-région et soutenir les processus démocratiques et la stabilité régionale par le biais des missions d'observation électorale. Tout en s'inspirant de notre parcours au cours de ces 50 dernières années, nous regardons l'avenir avec espoir et détermination. Ensemble, continuons à construire la CEDEAO de nos rêves. Une CEDEAO.
We humbly ask you to take your seats as we formally welcome our heads of state. Please, we ask you with respect to kindly take your positions. Please take your seats, if we may kindly settle down. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Also joining us are Her Excellency, the Prime Minister of Togo, His Excellency, the President of Liberia, the Vice President of the Republic of Gambia. Please give them a warm, warm welcome. And we're also joined by His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. A round of applause for our special VIPs who have just joined us. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous prie de bien vouloir vous lever pour l'hymne de CEDEAO, suivi par l'hymne national de la République du Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, the ECOWAS anthem, followed by the national anthem of the Republic of Ghana. Mesdames et messieurs, vous pouvez vous asseoir. Ladies and gentlemen, you can have your seats. Thank you. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, vice presidents, honorable ministers, the President and Vice President of ECOWAS Commission, distinguished commissioners, members of our esteemed armed forces and security bodies, ambassadors, representatives of regional and international institutions, members of parliament, traditional and religious leaders, members of the diplomatic corps, esteemed guests, Dobe Tomega, and of course, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Yusuf Maitama Tugar, who is also the Minister of Foreign Affairs and also serves as the chair of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers. You're very welcome, sir. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous présente le représentant du président de la République de la Côte d'Ivoire, Monsieur Aka Awela Eugène. And ladies and gentlemen, here we also have representing the President of República de Cabo Verde, Ambassador Cabo Verde in Abuja, Belarmino Monteiro Silva. We have the representative of the President of Cabo Verde joining us as well. And last but not the least in this list, please allow me to obviously clearly welcome the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Aliou Touré. You're very welcome, sir. Also flanked by the Vice President of the ECOWAS Commission, Her Excellency, Mrs. Damtian Chinjimbija. You're very welcome, Madam. Allow me to also borrow a few seconds to acknowledge our traditional leaders, His Royal Majesty King Takiteko Churu II, Ga Manche of President of the Ga Council, you're welcome, sir, and King Odaifo Welenchi III, Nungwa Manche, and President of the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, you're very welcome. We also would like to say a big welcome to our heads of ECOWAS institutions, our honorable commissioners, and we are flanked by the ministers of foreign affairs, finance and trade from our member states. Ladies and gentlemen, with all these acknowledgements, it's now time for us to have the official welcome. Mesdames et messieurs, j'ai l'honneur d'inviter sur scène l'honorable Samuel Okudjeto Ablakwa, ministre des Affaires étrangères et l'intégration régionale de la République du Ghana, pour prononcer le discours de bienvenue. Ladies and gentlemen, here to officially welcome you, Samuel Okudjeto Ablakwa, the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of the Republic of Ghana.
Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana and our Chief Host, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS member states, Your Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, former President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency, representatives of heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, Prime Ministers, Vice Presidents of Parliament representing the Right Honorable Alban S.K. Bagbin, leadership of Parliament, members of Parliament, Chair and members of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Excellencies of the Commissioners of ECOWAS, Excellencies, resident representatives of ECOWAS in the various member states, the Ghana Chair, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps in Ghana, distinguished representatives of the African Union, esteemed representatives of the government, chiefs and people of Ghana. I welcome you all to Accra, the vibrant and beautiful capital of Ghana, for this historic occasion to mark the official launch of the 50th anniversary celebrations of the Economic Community of West African States. It has always been of profound honor and a deep sense of commitment to our collective struggles for the total political and economic liberation, ultimate inspiration for continental African unity. Accra Today, we gather not only as representatives of our various nations, but as proud custodians of a shared history, a common destiny, and a regional identity that has grown stronger over the last 5 decades. It was on 28 May 1975 that visionary leaders of West Africa came together in Lagos, Nigeria, to sign the Treaty of Lagos, giving birth to ECOWAS, an ambitious, people-centered regional bloc founded on the principles of unity, solidarity, cooperation, and economic integration. Your Excellency's 50-year economic integration, but also peace, security, democracy, and social development. From promoting intra-regional trade and cross-border infrastructure projects to deploying peacekeeping missions in moments of crisis and facilitating the free movement of our people, ECOWAS has made remarkable strides in advancing the collective aspirations of West Africans. This 50th anniversary milestone offers us an opportunity to reflect on the challenges we have overcome, the progress we have made, and the sacrifices of those who envisioned a united, prosperous, and peaceful West Africa. It is also a time to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the ideals upon which this community was founded. As we launch these celebrations today, let us look forward together. The next chapter of ECOWAS must build on the foundations of the past, while boldly embracing the future. We must consolidate our gains in peace and security, deepen economic and political integration, and foster inclusive growth that benefits every citizen of this sub-region. Your Excellencies, as Chair of Ghana's ECOWAS at 50 Planning Committee, kindly permit me to express boundless gratitude to all colleagues and partners who worked tirelessly to make this event a success. I should highlight the impressive sacrifices of the Ghanaian private sector, particularly media organizations who rendered services gratis. Your full sponsorship of this launch is a loud affirmation of your continuous belief in the ECOWAS vision. I will be remiss if I do not acknowledge the ECOWAS Planning Committee, led by ECOWAS Commission Vice President, Her Excellency Damtien Chichenbija, for their remarkable contributions and exceptional team spirit. We remain indebted to the team, and certainly indebted to the Deputy Chief of Staff, the Honorable Stan Dogbe, fits into President Mohammed's exemplary leadership of austerity. May I place on record that funding for the ECOWAS at 50 launch has been a shared responsibility. Financing this launch and the 2-day Extraordinary Council of Ministers meeting scheduled to take place right after the launch has been almost entirely paid for by ECOWAS member states. The Ghanaian taxpayer.
Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, former President of the Republic of Ghana, His Royal Highness the Gamanche and other traditional leaders of Ghana, Excellency the Prime Minister of the Republic of Togo, Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Your Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chair of the ECOWAS Council, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ghana, have been registered under the scheme and benefit from the preferential treatment within ECOWAS for more than 50,000 products. The Interconnected System for the Management of Goods in Transit, SIGMAT, has been launched to connect national customs offices in the ECOWAS region to facilitate the regional transit trade and increase the pace and ease of international trade. The system is now fully operational in 7 countries. These two, Excellency, together with the common external tariff, is a good reason to celebrate. 3, energy and infrastructure programs. The community programs. The community has developed as well as
the Abidjan-Praia Corridor Highway, and several secondary corridors and joint border posts. The one other corridors include the Nigeria-Cameroon Highway, and all these initiatives are a source of hope, and so are the joint border posts that seek to limit the duplication of procedures and paperwork at border crossings. In the energy sector, through the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Interconnection has been established with all 14 continental countries of the region. It is hoped that the completion of the Information and Coordination Center of the West African Power Pool will enable member states to buy and sell electricity within the region. In this regard, the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Sector Regulatory Authority, ERIRA, has been established here in Ghana with a mandate to regulate cross-border electricity exchange among ECOWAS member states. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, these efforts are being complemented by the as hope and therefore constitute a reason to celebrate. But Excellencies, nothing is worth celebrating of the maritime security zones in the region and the strong partnerships built around maritime security have contributed to the decline in the incidences of piracy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the celebrations of ECOWAS' 50th anniversary must go hand in hand with reflections with a view to recalibration. One area that requires reflection is the low level of intra-community trade. Despite being a customs union, intra-community trade within ECOWAS stands at 12%. This is considerably low compared to the European Union and ASEAN countries. To resolve this, we must continue to address the infrastructure and energy deficit as well as non-tariff barriers. But most significantly, we must address supply-side constraints by raising productivity in our communities and in our economies. To raise productivity, we must be able to attract investment both from within and from outside the region. Our market of 400 million people is a potential magnet to investors. This, once again, underlines the importance of regional integration, as few meaningful investors are attracted by the small size of our individual